All right, welcome everybody. We're going to give this our best try. My name is Brandon Meisner. If you don't know, I am the editor of D2Football.com. I'm also one of the hosts of Inside D2 Football, which we produce and broadcast, stream live every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. To you, it would be 7 p.m. Central, though. And we talk about D2 nationally. I thought it was important, and the MIAA is an extremely important conference to D2Football.com in Division Two. It's absolutely one of the power conferences at our level. And I thought it was important that we would have a podcast to talk about and cover football just like everybody else. So here we go. It's not my strong suit. I am best when I collaborate with others. I am certainly not the best at, shooting from the hip. I'm very much a collaborator. And so we'll do this. We'll see how it works, and hopefully it'll go well. And you'll enjoy hearing or looking and watching MIAA football. Let's first start with the results from last week, even though by now you probably know them. But nonetheless, it was kind of a predictable week in the MIAA. I was very happy with the predictions that I made during the column last week. Let's start off first with what was the game of the week. And Pittsburgh State beat Emporia State 33-25, but it was not really even that close. It was a lot of points scored at the end by Emporia State. Chad Dotson, Mr. Reliable, was 15-24 for 254 and 2 touchdowns. And Devin Garrison, he Elite 100 watch list, 7 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pitt State had 509 yards of offense in the game. Braden Gleason had a good day statistically, 35 of 51 for only 310 though. So I think as a defense, you'd have to be happy, in 51 attempts to only give up 310 yards. And so in any case, the Gorillas moved to 6-0, and the Hornets fall to 4-2. That's 2 losses in a row for Emporia State. And they need to get it turned around this week because what looked like once was a team maybe trying to get a home game in the playoffs now might be on the outside, or certainly as a bubble team. The other game that I thought was interesting last week was Northwest Missouri at Central Oklahoma, and it kind of went how I predicted it. Jay Harris was the star of the game. He had 22 carries for Northwest, 274 yards and 4 touchdowns. Sean Griffin also had 7 catches for 86 yards. Dawson Hurl did a pretty good job in this game. He had to come in for Stephen Brown, who got hurt, and Hurl was 17-29, threw for 198 yards, but did throw 2 interceptions. Northwest evens its record at 3-3. Central Oklahoma fell to 2-4. And those were the games that I thought were the most interesting. Let's look at some of the others. Central Missouri had no problem with Nebraska Kearney, just like I thought. Zach Zabrowski was 38 of 56 for 434 yards, 5 touchdowns. Arkell Smith had 154 yards receiving. TJ Davis, everybody's favorite quarterback in the MIAA, had only 235 yards passing. That's not bad. 18 to 30, that's not bad. But he threw 3 picks. He also carried the ball 15 times, only 32 yards. So tough going for TJ. And it's kind of this game is consistent with what has happened all year for Nebraska Kearney. Mules are 5-1. Kearney is 2-4. Northeastern State got their first win of the year, as I predicted. They won 28-13. Quite frankly, I expected more out of Northeastern State than that. Fort Hays, a 35-22 win over Missouri Southern. Really feel like they kind of controlled the game. Jack Dawson had 242 yards passing, and Shane Watts had 19 carries for 96 yards. Fort Hays, a nice record, 4-2. Nice rebound season so far for them. Missouri Southern also having a good season, 3-3. That's nothing to sneeze at. And then finally, let's look at Missouri Western, who beat Washburn easily, like I predicted, but in no way did I predict that they would score 61 points, and that is exactly what they did. Western a 61-21 win over Washburn. They had 425 yards rushing in the game. They led 44-14 at the half. Missouri Western, certainly one of the surprises in the league this year, moves to 5-1. Washburn, another surprise maybe, but in a negative way, moves to 1-5 or falls to 1-5. Not a good start for the Ichabods. MIAA Players of the Week were named last week, and as I mentioned, there were a couple of good candidates, but the MIAA Player of the Week went to Jay Harris, who had the 274 yards and 4 touchdowns in the Bearcats' win over Central Oklahoma. He averaged 12.5 yards a carry, but at the end of the game, he was averaging like 19.5 yards a carry until he ran a bunch out to try to kill the game at the end, and Central Oklahoma knew that they were keying on Harris, and they did key on Harris, and his average went down, but it was a dominant performance by him. Because of that, Harris was named National Offensive Player of the Week by our organization, D2Football.com, and congratulations to him. On the defensive side of the ball, Alex Bergman was named the Defensive Player of the Week by the league. It came in a loss. We talked about it, 35-22, but he had a solid day on defense, had 12 tackles, had a half tackle for loss, and had an interception that helped thwart a scoring drive. He also had a pass breakup, and congratulations to him as well. And then finally, Jake Leader was the Defensive Player of the Week. He helped give the Griffins 7 points without any offense being necessary. He leaped in front of Washburn's first punt of the day, blocked it, and then Lamont Washington was able to scoop it up and score from 38 yards out. So, it sparked a 47-7 run by Western, but it's the second punt block of the season, and he was honored by the league for the Special Teams Player of the Week. I mentioned that there are a couple of candidates that could have been the Offensive Player of the Week in the MIAA. And if you look at it, certainly Zach Zabrowski was one of them. On last week's episode of Inside D2 Football, we talked about potential Harlan Hill candidates. It was through 6 games. It's, just slightly over the halfway point. And Zabrowski was one name that was mentioned. In fact, our national columnist, Chuck Bittner, actually thinks he's going to win it and should win it, and is the favorite. And as you see on the screen, he's averaging 414 yards of total offense and 386 yards passing a game. He has 25 touchdowns. So it's been a great season for him so far. Now, not to be outdone, if you look, we also mentioned in the show his wide receiver, Arkell Smith. And Arkell Smith is having a fantastic season himself. And he did last week. He had 11 catches for 154, but he has the most touchdown receptions in Division II. And he has the number 3 receiving yards in Division II at 684. And he's number 3 in yards per game at 114. Only problem with being a receiver and trying to win the Harlan Hill now is that if you have big stats, your quarterback likely has big stats as well, and he's probably going to get all the love in terms of Harlan Hill Trophy. But, you have to be nominated, first of all. And so Central Missouri would have a decision to make, because Zabrowski would be the most likely candidate. But at the same time, he's not a program guy, so who knows what they will do there. Zabrowski's a transfer, came in this year. Arkell Smith's the guy that's been with the Mules for a while. So it'll be interesting to see who they nominate for that. But either one of them would be an appropriate choice for a Harlan Hill Trophy nomination. It'll be interesting to see how it ends up, or how things play out the rest of the year, and to see if Zabrowski can keep up the impressive stats that he has so far and the impressive performance. He's got Pitt State out of the way. He's got Northwest Missouri's defense out of the way. He's got an opportunity to do a lot of good things because he probably played, certainly two of the better defenses that he's going to play in the regular season. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a big game coming up this weekend. And when we come back, we will talk to Tyler Fenwick. He is the head coach at Missouri Western. He has the Griffins off to a 5-1 start, and they're hosting rival Northwest Missouri State this weekend. We'll be back right after this. Just wanted to take this opportunity to thank those who have supported D2 football this year. D2 football is free, but it isn't cheap. Your support helps offset our expenses and allows us to expand our coverage. If you like what we're doing, please consider supporting us. Visit d2football.com/support. Or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, click contact on the website to find our mailing address. But again, thank you for supporting D2 football. And welcome back. We are joined now by the head coach of the 5-1 Missouri Western Griffins, Tyler Fenwick. Coach, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. This is great.
Very good. So you're 5-1, as I just said, one win away from a guaranteed winning season in your first at Missouri Western. You've had a lot of success early on, and I have to believe that a lot of that success stems from the fact that you got some kids who were already there to buy in. Is that accurate? And if so, how did you do that?
We didn't make a lot of, big wholesale changes in the roster. I mean, we added a few pieces here and there, but the roster when we got here was pretty solid. And I think really, when you look at the offensive line, I think everything starts with the offense and defensive line. But the offensive line had 3 returning starters, a 4th guy that had played quite a bit, and so there's just a lot of experience on the offensive line, and then defensive line was kind of the same way. I mean, we had guys like C.J. Ravenel and Dakari Streeter that were here, and then so once you kind of have that, it's really more about getting to know the guys and building relationships with them and getting working out just the trust part of it, and working together with them, trying to figure out who they are and what makes them tick and how to push them. And I think I've got a really good coaching staff that is all about that. That's all about just open door policy. We got guys that come into the facility and they have lunch in the coaches' offices, and so it's just a very open door environment that we've got, and I think that translates onto game days and practice and game days, and I think we give our guys ownership in what we do, and I think we got good leadership, and I would say that the off season when we got there, we did a great job. We hired a new strength staff, and Zach Fears, and he's really done a great job of developing our kids in the weight room and getting them stronger and putting on some weight that I think it's shown up that we're running the ball well, we're being physical, we're getting behind the line of scrimmage and making tackles for loss and sacks, and so I think that's all contributed to where we're at right now, I would say.
When I have to admit, when you were hired and when I was doing a little research for this interview, your teams, because when you were at Missouri S&T, kind of struck me as teams that were going to throw the ball, and you had a couple of years there where you really did throw the ball well. Having said that, I did research and realized, no, your teams have kind of ran the ball pretty well. You're doing that again this year. You're leading the conference in rushing, of course, scoring. You're also throwing with good efficiency. Is the kind of offense that you're running right now an ideal design? Is this what you envision an offense should be?
We go into every season and every game, we want to be balanced as balanced as we can. So our playbook is going to be balanced. And then, based off of kind of how the game is going or what they're defending, it might lean, more towards pass one week and run game another week or whatever. But, I think when you look back when I was at Missouri Western before as the offensive coordinator, we had a 2,000-yard rusher in Michael Hill, but we also had Travis Partridge that was an all-conference quarterback that threw for a bunch of yards. And at S&T, we had a quarterback that threw for over 3,000 yards, and we had a running back that rushed for 1,700 yards. So a lot of it depends on what our personnel is that year, what we feel like we can do and how we can utilize our guys.
I was told that I needed to ask you about your quarterback, Amari Eden, and
Okay.
his journey to Western. I know nothing about this, so I'm excited. So fill me in on what's going on there.
Armani is, he's kind of been a journeyman, I guess. He's from Florida. He went to a junior college out in California. Went to a couple junior colleges actually out in California, but he ended up at College of the Canyons. His coach, the head coach of College of the Canyons, Ted Iacenda, was actually my college roommate back at New Mexico. And so just, conversations with him, he said, hey, I got a quarterback who went to University of Hawaii, signed with University of Hawaii. I think when Todd Graham was the head coach there, and then they obviously made the change with Timmy Chang. And so he was kind of looking, for a new start and a new place. And so Iacenda, gave me his name and we kind of started that relationship and figured a way to get him out here. And so he's been very efficient. He's a great guy. He's a team guy. He's got a great personality. And I think, being new, I mean, he wasn't here in spring ball. So he got here I think he got here in mid-July and picked up, just learning the offense through fall camp. And so he's kind of still going through some of that, learning the ins and outs of the offense and making mistakes and fixing mistakes. And so it seems like he gets better each week as he gets more comfortable with not only the offense, but also with the receivers that we got and being on the same page with them.
Turning to the defensive side of the football, you guys are really doing a great job getting to the quarterback. You're also forcing a lot of turnovers. Excuse me. What have you done, or why are you guys having so much success doing those two things on that side of the football?
Oh, I don't, that's a good question. I think, the takeaways and, we work it a lot. I mean, we emphasize it. We do a lot of takeaway circuits and ball security circuits and just try to instill in their head that, we need to find a way to get the ball back. But I think we got good players. I mean, it starts with our defensive line is they're quick and they're fast and they got some size. I mean, CJ's 280 pounds and he's 6'5", and Dakari Streeter's really come along this year, and he's quick off the edge and he's feisty and so we're pretty multiple on defense. I mean, we can kind of get into a lot of different looks and different fronts and show that we're coming and back out. So I don't know. I think our defensive coaching staff does a good job. Coach Johnson, our defensive coordinator, is he's always been a 3-4 guy. We've also been able to kind of get into a little bit more of an even front because that's kind of the personnel that we took over was a little bit more some of that even front defensive line personnel. But yeah, they're playing hard and Coach Johnson gets them to play hard. And, so they've been fun to watch and really they've been fun to watch grow because it is a new system and it's new, completely, going to a 3-4. It's kind of a different technique that they got to learn. And so it's been fun to see them, go through and learn about, how they fit into the defense. And I think our secondary has done a really good job. There's a lack of experience starting off the season there. We lacked communication, being on the same page just because it was new. And we learned from that in the Central Missouri game. And I think from there, the emphasis was, okay, we got to make sure we're on the same page. And, and just they're playing more freely and they're playing faster because they're just more prepared and understand what we're trying to do.
Earlier, you mentioned that you were the OC at Western when you had Travis Partridge, Michael Hill. You left, became the head coach at Missouri S&T, eventually at Southeastern Oklahoma. What did you learn at those two stops that are helping you turn this thing around so quickly this year?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I've learned a lot. I've worked for some really good head coaches. I've worked. My dad was a head coach at the junior college level, and he coached at New Mexico, and so I grew up as the son of a football coach, and it started there. But then I worked for some really good guys that were really smart and had a lot of success. Ed Croson, I coached with at the high school level. Dale Weedoff at Occidental College when I was his coordinator. he kind of delegated and let me learn and let me, he gave the offense to me, and he kind of stayed out of the way, and he let me have success, and he let me learn from, what was wrong. So, yeah. So, and then working for Jerry Partridge at Missouri Western was great, and the experience in the MIAA and learning how to manage games and how to handle different situations. So when I became a head coach, you sit there and you think you got it all figured out, and I've worked for some really good guys, but then you get to S&T, which is a completely different animal, being that it's a big engineering school, and you're recruiting a different type of kid, and so you kind of have to tailor it to that. I was swimming when I got started, and really more so from a game management and how to handle situations in game, where I didn't have to worry about it as a coordinator. And so, but then it was learning about, what do we need to do with our roster to make sure what kind of kids do we need to bring in so that, it fits our culture and what we want to do and who we want to be. And so when I got to Southeastern, I mean, we were 1-10 my first year at Southeastern. I mean, we were not good. But we were able to kind of sit back as a staff and say, okay, this is what we have. This is who we are. This is what we're doing right now. And how do we find a solution? And how do we kind of flip the culture, and how do we change, who we are? And next thing you know, we had the COVID year, and then we go in 9-3 and go to a bowl game and beat Emporia. But it was really more about, bringing in the right kids, and then treating the right kid, treating those kids the right way, and coaching them and teaching them, and just building a relationship so that we're working together, not just as coaches saying do this, but this is why we're doing this, and this is how you can help this program. And so now that I'm back at Missouri Western, I would say all those experiences from who I worked for, who I learned from, and then just going through just different different scenarios that prepared me for where I'm at now. And it's just, I mean, now that I'm back at Missouri Western, it's comfortable in the sense that I know the landscape, and I know the building, and you step in the office and where everything's at. And so it was really more about trying to just build the chemistry within the roster. And I think, most importantly, you got to surround yourself with good people. And I've been blessed, hire the, coaches that I worked with in the past, with Coach Johnson and Coach Throckmorton, our O-line coach, and some of those other guys, Aaron Bell. And so it's been it's all of that combined, I think, is, helped me where I'm at right now.
Right, let's turn the focus to this week's opponent. One of the best rivalries in the league. Certainly the best game this week, in my opinion. Northwest Missouri will play at your house. You have been a part of this rivalry before, as we talked about. You got wins against the Bearcats in 11 and 12. In those times, though, it might be fair to say that for the most part, Northwest would have been the favorite. This year, that is clearly flipped. Missouri Western is the favorite in this game. Does that give this game, this rivalry, a little different flavor for you?
I don't know. I don't know that it's a different flavor. I think it's really more. It's two good football teams. I mean, I don't know that you guys might think that we're favored, but I mean, we haven't beat them in since 2012 here at Missouri Western. So. And despite their record, I mean, they had some tough losses, and they had some injuries that went into that. And they're a really good football team. I mean, they're physical, and they've been doing this for a long time, and the culture there has been set for a long time. And their kids know how to win. Their kids know how to turn things around. They know when their back's against the wall, and they need to buck up and get a win. So we're looking for a huge fight here, and a tall task. And so I think it's going to be a good game. I'm hoping that it's going to be a good game. I think we have a good football team, and I told our kids that, it's going to be a physical football game. And so we're going to have to match their physicality and effort. And, we'll see what happens. But I mean, that, we're 5-1 and they're 3-3, and that none of that matters when it comes to the game.
All right. Very good. Well, Tyler Fenwick, thank you very much for joining us on MIAA Weekly.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and D2Football.com and Inside D2 Football are teaming up with the Pink Clover Foundation. This 501c3 nonprofit foundation was formed by family and friends after the passing of Colleen Sorbello in 2017. While she was fighting breast cancer for 4 years, she participated in many trials and was passionate about finding a way to make the treatment less harsh for women fighting breast cancer. Pink Clover's mission is to raise money for breast cancer research, provide free breast cancer education seminars, and closest to their hearts, provide comfort for women who are struggling while battling breast cancer. Since 2018, Pink Clover has raised over $670,000, providing direct assistance to women affected by breast cancer. They have also partnered with 3 hospitals and raised money for research, including the University of New Haven's Breast Cancer Research Laboratory. To see how you can help, visit pinkcloverfoundation.org or visit their Facebook or Instagram pages by searching Pink Clover Foundation.
Welcome back. So what do we have going on this weekend? Obviously, the game of the week, I think, has to be Northwest Missouri at Missouri Western. The Bearcats and the Griffins, proximity rivals. They are about 30, 40 minutes apart. It's always a heated rivalry. Just looking at the games this week or looking at the matchup, it looked like an even matchup to me. So I kind of put some pen to paper to really kind of figure out where they matched up kind of on a broad scale, not necessarily player to player, but just in terms of the characteristics of the team. And, Missouri Western is really scoring. They're tops in the league at 43 a game. Northwest is in the middle with 30 a game. They're scoring D. Both are relatively the same. Northwest a little better at 22.7. Missouri Western is giving up 24.8. So that's pretty much a wash. In fact, they're 5 and 6 in the league in that category. Both of them have similar total offense numbers, believe it or not. One area where Northwest thrives, though, is total defense. They give up 336 a game. Missouri Western's given up a lot, 431 a game. That's last in the MIAA. Both teams run the ball well. Both have over 200 yards of offense rushing a game. And both throw about the same level. Missouri Western passes for 222 a game, Northwest for 214. Having said that, Missouri Western's passing efficiency is a lot better. They're at 150. Northwest is at 124. That's a big difference, and certainly is skewed by all the interceptions thrown in one game against Emporia State. If you look at the rush defense, Northwest, as typical, doing a real good job with that, giving up 68.2 a game. Pretty impressive, really. But they're giving it up through the air, 268 a game. Northwest is a defense that's usually giving up less than 300 yards total per game, if not less than 200 in some years, with Rich Wright calling the defense. But Missouri Western gives up a lot too. Their defense gives up 127 a game on the ground and 304 through the air. The question is, can Northwest exploit it enough through the air to pull off the upset victory? Can Missouri Western run the ball against Northwest defense? Those are the two questions that will be asked in the game, or will be answered in the game. I just asked the question, but those are the two questions that will be asked. I expect this, and again, this is what I think is going to be the only competitive game in the MIAA. I think Missouri Western will come out on top. A 35-31 win for the Griffins. Lots of points scored in this game, and that's kind of a score that's no matter the year, very similar to the kind of results you get in this rivalry. As Tyler Fenwick said, no matter what the records are, you can kind of throw that out. And, that is a cliche, but it probably is true. Now let's move on to some of the other games. And again, I don't think there are any close games. I think Missouri Western and Northwest Missouri is going to be the only close game this weekend. Emporia State's hosting a hobbled Washburn team in the Turnpike Tussle. I think Emporia State's going to roll 38-14. Fort Hays and Nebraska Kearney going to meet up. It's a rivalry from back in the day, but to me that's going to be a 27-13 win. Fort Hays over Kearney. Central Oklahoma probably going to be a 32-7 win over Lincoln. I don't think Central Oklahoma will have that much trouble with Lincoln. Nobody else has had any trouble with them. Pitt State, they're going on the road in their rivalry game with Missouri Southern, and I think that they will win 34-14. And Central Missouri, going to go wild in Tahlequah. I'm going to predict a 55-14 win for the Mules in Tahlequah. So that's kind of the way I see it happening this weekend. And again, the game of the week is clearly the game of the week, which is Northwest and Missouri Western, and none of the others look to be very close games to me. We'll be back right after this.
Again, Matt and I are both thankful that we don't have to try to scarf down a pizza anymore, but we do want to recognize our friends at Boss's Pizza and Chicken and thank them again for being a sponsor of Inside D2 Football. I did have some wings like this, and they were very good. Whit, I'm not going to bring up the pizza challenge image. In fact, I might just delete it off the server.
Let's do that.
But they have lots of good food. I wanted to try some roasted chicken. I did not. The main thing I want you to take from this, if you're a businessman, if you want to be one, they're looking for franchisees, and there are many places that I think that they would be very successful. Specifically, they're looking at a location in Springfield, Missouri, that they would like somebody to maybe go into business with them. Go up to the top right of their website, and you can click on a link and contact them about being a franchisee.
And welcome back. Before we close out the show, one thing we wanted to do was to wish Coach Garen Higgins a happy birthday. He is one of the good guys in Division II, and Emporia State is lucky to have him, and Division II is lucky to have him. And if you see him, wish him a happy belated birthday, because, again, he is truly one of the good guys and a great guy to deal with and to cover, and just to have him representing the rest of us and our level. So, again, we tried to muddle through this first episode of MIAA Weekly. Again, this is not a format that is conducive to what I do best or even good at all. But there is somebody who I'm talking to about joining, and we would co-host this thing. And I'm actually pretty excited and hope to be able to come to an agreement with this person, somebody you're all familiar with. But I would like to be able to make that concrete, and we will tag team this thing and have a lot of fun covering MIAA football the rest of the way in the 2023 season. Anyway, we have no produced intros, no produced outros. It's been fun. Hope to see you next week, and thank you for watching MIAA Weekly.